All right, welcome back to the Marketing Machinery Podcast. My name's Ian.
My name's Joe, and are you ready to hire a full-time marketer?
So, quick intro on us. Joe and I have both worked in marketing for about 7 to 8 years apiece. Together, we've managed more than $30 million in marketing budget, ranging from helping out companies that do a few $1,000s a month to billions of dollars a year.
Yeah, which I mean that scope is insane, guys. Like seriously, business that only do like Ian said, well, let's say annual revenue of couple $100,000 a year, all the way to the big B, no T,
yeah.
but the big B.
Not yet, yeah.
Not yet.
So, going along with that, I thought it would be really valuable for us to talk today about how somebody should go about hiring a marketer. And we can talk about that in the context of maybe you work for a Fortune 500 and you're hiring a marketer, or more likely, you work for a small business. Maybe this is the first time you've ever hired somebody in marketing. So, I think first, when you're hiring a marketer, there's a few questions that you should ask yourself. And the first thing that you should ask is, why are you hiring a marketer? I know that sounds super basic, but that will really
I'm sure you can answer for yourself,
Yeah.
but I think it's a very important question. Like why do you need one? I mean, the obvious answer is you would hope that they're going to generate a lot of revenue, right?
Yeah. I think some people, when they hire a marketer, though, they think, all right, it's kind of like you're playing house. Like, oh, I'm doing business now. What should I do? Hire a marketer. Oh, maybe I'll get my nephew to post on social media for me.
Yeah.
And if that's all you're looking for, then yeah, maybe just get your nephew. Basically, I'm saying if you're just trying to check a box, that's one thing. If you're trying to actually generate more revenue and sales for your business, which is most likely what most business owners want to do, that's something totally separate.
I think a safe assumption, which you guys might hate me for saying this, which is how seriously do you want to take it? That's the honest answer. If you really just want to dilly dally in social posts, that's your nephew. If you want to generate millions and millions of dollars, your nephew ain't gonna do that unless your nephew has a lot of experience, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe sheer luck. But it's. Do you want someone that's very experienced and versatile at what you need? Especially if this is your first marketing hire, they need to be very versatile. They can't just be a specialist role. They're going to set up a lot of automations. They're going to have expertise in a lot of different advertising fields. And so you can't just hire some rinky-dink 70K, 60K marketer that just came out of college, or maybe have 1 or 2 years of experience. Maybe that's all your business can afford, but then there's other compensation package you could do, or maybe that's all your business really needs. So I think that really can help answer that question of, why do you need one?
Yeah, and another thing I think that you should ask yourself is, what do you think a marketer is supposed to do? Because if you can't really answer that question, maybe you're not ready to hire a marketer yet. You should probably figure that out.
That's also very fair. I guess, Ian, why don't you answer that question so let's say you're doing about $500,000, an annual revenue, and your gross profit is around like 210. So you have the budget, but it's going to eat away into your profit for sure.
Yeah.
But you probably are hoping this marketer can bring your company into the first $1 million.
Right. So ultimately, a marketer's job is to find out what drives your customer, B, use that to increase awareness of your product in the field, and C, use that to make money for your business. I think that pretty much encompasses what a marketer is supposed to do. So it really depends on what kind of business you're in terms of what day to day you need your marketer to do. If you're doing like B2B software, you might need your marketer to mostly find email lists for your sales team to use, do some research, product research on, what new markets you should go into, maybe set up some email automations. If you're a small business and you're doing HVAC, for example, you probably just need a marketer that knows how to do some basic web design, set up your site, set up some ads. So there's a lot of different things that a marketer could do, but it'll kind of depend on your business. I'm just saying, like, as a baseline, you should already have in your mind what you need this marketer to do, because that's going to inform the type of person that you're hiring.
When you're going through the hiring process, try to keep an open mind, in my opinion, as a business owner, because a good marketer, especially for a small company like that, if this is your first marketing hire, they should come in with ideas. If they're just going to come in and just say yes to everything you believe, that the marketing person needs to do, I don't think you're hiring the right person, because that means you could honestly be the marketing person if you have enough expertise around that, right? You need to have someone that's going to be eager to come in and just kill it for you. That would make your first hire an absolutely a stellar hire, rather than someone that's just going to be, contempt or complacent.
Yeah, and another thing I should say is not all businesses maybe are ready to hire a marketer.
That's fair.
For example, if you're just a realtor and you've always got, leads through your pretty face, or you're just great at talking to people, and basically you've only had warm leads your entire career, and even if you hired a stud marketer who could just flood your inbox with new people that are interested in real estate, you're not going to really know how to close them, because you're used to getting a warm introduction from a mutual acquaintance, for example. So if you don't have a solid process for turning new leads or new website visits into new business, then you might not be ready for a marketer. Now, granted, a good marketer could also help you figure that out. It's kind of a marketing and sales question, but that's something else that I think you should really ask yourself.
Absolutely. And that kind of segues perfectly into, maybe you don't need a full-time marketer, believe it or not. Maybe you actually need an agency instead, which an agency you typically get, less hours. Instead of 40 hours a week, you might get 40 hours a month for the same price. But typical agencies have more skill sets that one individual person might not have. It's a pretty unicorn situation for one person to have every skill set of an agency. If you find that person, hire them. I promise you won't regret it. Like, they're going to be one of your best hires. But like I said, that's a unicorn. How often are you finding a unicorn? Unless you're slapping a horn on a horse, it's hard to find. So working with agencies, what should you look for, Ian, if you decide to go that route?
Yeah, so if you're working for if you're looking for an agency, you want to find somebody who has experience in your specific business. If it's not your exact business, like maybe you sell Chinese textbooks, find somebody that's worked in publishing, in some regard. Yeah. Basically, the more experience they have, the closer to your business, assuming they've been successful, the better off you're going to be. Because if you just hire a generic agency, they might be talented enough to make it work, but sometimes you do run the risk that you'll spend most of the time just trying to make them understand what you actually want.
Right, and the other part is a full-time person can understand your business quicker than, like an agency. Because let's say you do have some sort of intricate software product, right? It's gonna take time for the marketer to really understand the persona they need to, the character persona they need to target on Google or on social posts to make sure they can get that targeting right, compared to, again, someone that's there 8 hours a day figuring that out quicker. But let's say, to Ian's point, let's say there's an agency that's specialized in Amazon, but they've only done Amazon, kind of digital marketing. Now you're asking them to, let's say, run TikTok, and they've never ran TikTok. That's probably not the right agency you want to hire. Yeah. Because you're going to have majority of times you're going to have a better idea which platform you should be on anyways.
Yeah, the danger with agencies can be a lot of times they overextend themselves and say basically anything you ask them to do, oh, yeah, I can do that. I'll find a way. Yeah. And maybe they can, but you want to lean more, you want to push them towards doing things that they've already done. And if they haven't already done what you're trying to get them to do, then maybe look in a different direction, I would say.
Right.
But yeah, so it's always a good option, I think, to hire a good agency as a bridge before you hire a full-time marketer, because like you said, it can be less expensive. The agency is going to be more familiar with the onboarding process. You'll be able to get it started quicker than you having to go and, train this marketer from scratch, for example. But yeah, let's say you've made the decision, okay, I am actually going to hire a full-time in-house marketer. There's obviously a couple of elements to that. You need to recruit them and you need to interview them. And before you get to that point, we kind of already touched on this before, but you need to think about what kind of a marketer you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Are you looking for a generalist, somebody who can do a little bit of everything? They can post on social, they can send out emails, they can run some Google ads for you. That's going to be more likely for most small businesses out there. You're going to want somebody that knows a little bit of everything. But maybe if you run a business that's totally reliant on Google Ads, you just want a rock star in that department and they can kind of take care of it. Or, like you were saying, Joe, if you can find a unicorn like this man over here,
Just slap a
just-
horn on a horse.
do video production, website design, everything, then just hire that person. But the issue, of course, when you're hiring that person, it's going to come at a heftier price
Very
tag.
expensive price tag
So,
for sure.
I think if you're able to manage to pay them, like a great marketer is worth 3 bad marketers. So you're better off overpaying for one, amazing prodigy basically, than kind of underpaying and going through multiple rounds of marketers that don't really work
I think
out.
you make probably the most important point when hiring anyone, right? If you guys own any business, I'm sure you've been through this. Bad employees suck. They're so stressful.
Yeah.
So like honestly, if you can as you guys know, if you're a business owner, if you just hire the right person the first time around, is that not worth just the months that you're gonna be wasting time with bad people? Like Ian said, one good marketer doesn't have to be a prodigy. One good marketer, honestly, I would say it's worth 10 bad marketers. Not in like direct salary of
Right.
10 bad marketers, right?
Yeah.
But it
You
is
don't have
very
to pay
worth
them
it.
like 10 bad marketers.
Yeah, it is so worth it to hire the right person that you trust. Something I kind of want to go back on the agency side, just as a side note with you guys. So we are an agency as well. So you can send us an email or give us a call. We love to consult you guys. The biggest thing is cost of an agency versus the cost of a full-time marketer. You said it's a little bit cheaper. I actually somewhat could disagree with that. I think if you hire a good agency, I think it tends to be a little bit more expensive.
Well, it depends on the agency that you're hiring.
That's very, very fair. Yeah, you can see price points from.
If you can manage to get an amazing marketer who can just do everything for you, then that's going to be cheaper than going out and finding a great agency for PPC and a great agency for SEO and a great agency for
or
web
graphic
design.
graphic design, social.
Yeah, I was more thinking like, okay, if you haven't done any marketing and you're starting from scratch, do you want to hire a marketer, and let's say on the low end you pay them like 60 grand a year, so that's $5,000 a month, or you could go out and get an agency, maybe you pay them a $2,000, $3,000 retainer, and then you spend a couple $1,000s in ads. Like that's going to be the same cost or maybe a little bit lower.
Right.
So yeah, it depends.
Oh, and it absolutely does. And the other thing you want to look for is the content creation side of marketing is incredibly important. Unless you're just like a true PPC style company, like let's say a plumbing service, any sort of like local businesses, unless you're a restaurant, like majority of the time creative is where you're going to spend the most amount of money in agencies
Yeah, and
versus like an in-house role.
Yeah, and by creative, that's marketer speak for like the words that you're
Photos,
using
yeah.
to sell your product. Yeah, the photos,
The
images,
videos,
the videos,
yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for us, you can find agencies are $500 a month, all the way upwards towards 15, 20, 25. Like the company, we almost hired an agency that was going to be $50,000 a month. They were one of the top agencies, so they claim, in the world. We didn't end up going with them because we were able to bring in those positions in house. But again, you can see a wide range. If you want to have us run it, so we have a very, very diverse background and everything, in the sense of like you guys heard in our intro, from spending $100,000 revenue companies all the way to the $1 billion. So we had you can just give us a call. We'll give you a quick consultation and see what we can provide. But we are actually, I would say, on the very cheaper side for everything that we do, which is going to be not only consulting, not only running every ad platform that you want it at, also content creation. We only charge $2,500 retainers, and typically those agencies are going to cost you run you $6,000 to $10,000 a month. And the reason I say this is when I worked for an agency, my personal retainer to have someone have me run their side, which is only consulting and ads, they were charging $15,000 a month as my retainer. And I personally had 10 clients, by the way. That agency was making buku dollars off me, which is for sure. But I did it because I learned so much. It was so much fun. But I will say, you don't need to pay outrageous amounts of money to have a good marketer on your team, whether it's an agency or a full-time in-house, right?
Yeah. So I think we've covered, the agency, like Joe said, we love doing this stuff, so that's why we're putting it out there. We don't have a ton of overhead, so we're
Just us two.
yeah, just us. But if you're looking to hire somebody full time, which long term for most businesses is going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
So let's assume, maybe you've worked with the agency and you're transitioning, or maybe you're like, I've had bad experience with the agencies. I just want to hire somebody full time. That's totally fair. So let's talk about how do you go about recruiting this person? What would you say, Joe?
I think it heavily depends on if you have an HR team, let them take care of it. You don't need to think about it.
Yeah,
but if you don't, I think a really good question for both of us to answer is, where did we find our current jobs? Was it Indeed, LinkedIn? Was it ZipTrader? Was it not ZipTrader?
ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter. Google Jobs.
Yeah.
How did you find your job?
So this current job I found through a friend of mine from college. So obviously that's easy to say, hard to do. Just go find a friend that already does it. But yes, that's how I found my current job.
How about any other jobs you had in the past?
Yeah, the previous job, I went to a career fair when I was still in college. And then, I met the company, gave them my resume, started as an intern, they hired me full time. So that was one of the things I was going to mention. If you do have any universities in your area, and I've recruited other marketers this way as well. You can go to the university, talk to the professor, say, hey, look, I'm trying to find somebody. That's going to be more for if you already have a very good idea of what you're looking for, and you don't necessarily need somebody that's super experienced. You want somebody that maybe has a background. Because students, a lot of times these days, especially if they're going from a good university, like the last person I hired, he was still a student, but he already had years of paid ads experience and running YouTube ads. So
you don't need to have a college degree to run paid ads.
Yeah.
I mean, as you guys may know, there's 16-year-olds who are doing dropshipping business that can run paid ads really well. But I would say my past experience, I've taken jobs from actually Google job postings, Indeed, and LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I will say now when I look for a potential job, it would always be on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you guys want the worst case scenario, it's funny because we can't necessarily share this story, but what happens typically is if you don't post your price range and you get to the last final interview with some of the best candidates that you really have a lot of faith in, and turns out they want a higher budget than you're willing to pay out, oh man, that sucks. So let me tell you, if you're in that situation, that blows because you're so excited to hire this person. You think they're going to change your business and help you grow it. I highly recommend putting your salary range in every post. And I recommend this to every company because what it does is it siphons off those more ambitious people who may not have the experience that want that kind of pay, or people who do deserve that kind of pay. They're not going to apply for your job. Mm-hmm. That way, when you get to the last stage, because it is very stressful to hire a good person that you're going to trust. This isn't, you're not spending $500 a month. You're spending thousands of dollars to bring someone on to your team. You don't want to be excited for the wrong person, right? Yeah. So make sure you get super descriptive on what your job title, what you need to do, and also the pay range. That's going to save you such a headache when you actually go and start interviewing.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people think, all right, I'm going to keep that close to the vest, and if we find that great person, then we can post this higher salary. And I get why people think that way, but my answer to that would be, all right, if you know that if you find the great unicorn candidate, you would be willing to pay them, $120,000, whatever it is, just go ahead and put that salary out there because you're going to attract those kind of candidates to you. If you're saying, I'm not going to tell people, or even worse, I'm going to lowball this, salary description in LinkedIn, and then I'm going to hope that some unicorn candidates come through. That's not going to happen. So I would say, if you can afford it, the best way to hire a great marketer is be willing to pay more than the competition and, publish that. Let everybody know that you're going to. That's going to draw them in.
The other big thing I was going to say is do your research on pay range. Because again, if you're willing to pay a little bit more than the market and you post that, oh man, your posting will get flooded with applications. And that way, it's a numbers game in the sense of you just keep interviewing a bunch of people until you find the one that you really want to hire. The worst case scenario is you do a job posting and no one applies, right?
Yeah.
That sucks. So
true.
I think that's the best way to recruit. But if you have an HR team, save the headache. Let them take care of it.
Yeah. So just a quick recap on that. Put the posting on LinkedIn. If you can, put the salary range out there, and hopefully it's higher than the competition. And also use plenty of, keywords and, be as descriptive as possible in the job description so that when the right person is reading it, they'll say, oh, this is me. Perfect. I want to apply. If you keep it too basic, they're just going to go and find a description that they think fits them. Because when you're looking for a job, you get the most excited when you read something and you're like, oh, it's like if you're on a dating app or something and you just love horseback riding and hiking and Thai food. If you see all of those, you're like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
If it's just some super basic stuff, you're not going to be as excited about it. So same thing with the job description. But yeah, sorry. So to recap, post on LinkedIn, network with universities, or talk to a HR department or a recruiter if you have access to that.
Yeah, maybe you should make a video on how to hire HR first.
Yeah.
And then, I'm just kidding. No. But
point.
you guys, those are the steps that we recommend on, I guess, almost even not just how, but when you should hire a marketer. I think the last little tip I'll give, coming from a marketing experience of 7 to 8 years, man, I actually can't tell you which year.
Yeah.
But I will say every job that I've been excited for, I've been able to absolutely kill it because you're just passionate about it. There's a famous quote, I can't remember by which business person, but no one will care about your business as much as you do. If you find someone that cares about your business 80% of how much you care about it, hire that person and train them. It doesn't matter what position, train them, because to find someone that cares about even 80%, which you might think is too low, honestly, having been in corporate America, more than, I would say, almost 90% of people I've ever worked with couldn't give two, part of my language, craps about the company they work for. I know, I was going to say the other word, but whatever. I don't want to get demonetized here. But and not to throw anyone else on their bus. It's just, it's your baby. So make sure you find other people that can support your baby as just as much as you are. But do not expect that every single person is going to care even 50% of the business, what you care about.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. Another thing is when you're interviewing the person, there's plenty of other resources out there for what exact questions to ask. But I would say, especially in marketing, always lean towards asking questions about specific experiences people have had, because anybody can say, oh, how would you market our product? And they can come up with something that sounds brilliant and amazing, but that's a much lower quality indicator of success compared to saying, tell me about a time that you successfully marketed a product like this. So always lean towards real world experience. And yeah, I do totally agree about the passion element. Don't expect that everybody that you're going to hire is going to love your business as much as you do. But especially in marketing and sales, it definitely helps if you do hire somebody that's passionate
when you
about
believe in your product, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And also the longevity. The last thing you want to do is hire a marketer and then they just leave in a year. So yeah, that just sucks for a company in itself.
People would hate that, wouldn't they?
No, they would absolutely. But you guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments down below or just shoot us an email. You guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you about this topic. If you have any topics you want us to talk about, again, leave it in the comments down below.
All right.
Otherwise, see you guys.
Thanks, guys.